Oh,
Hey.
just had to do a little editing on the front side. What's up,
Ducks in a row.
Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter. If I'm still there, at Packers_access, joined alongside Emilio. He's definitely not there. In Tennessee, here to talk some Green Bay Packers this evening. Hopefully everybody's having an awesome day. Emilio, how you doing, big dog?
Good. Yeah, glad to be back. Don't want to be that guy that kicks us off, but hopefully we're clear there at the beginning. And yeah, just a couple of shots at Jacob. I need to get through this pod, and we'll be all even squared away.
Yeah, man. You want to fire one away right now or let it build up?
No, I'll let it build up. All right, we'll get a couple on the.
You ready to go?
All right, sounds good to me. Well, we got a couple of different topics we want to hit on tonight. I know everybody following into the chat. Appreciate y'all making us part of your evening. Jacob may jump on here a little later. We'll see. But nonetheless, we got Emilio here to talk a little ball. So let's dive into a little Zack Tom talk. I've been hearing a lot of chatter here lately, Emilio, about how Zack Tom, had a bad second half of the season. He had a bad game there against Philly in the playoffs. And it's like he ended on a sour note. And maybe that's why the Packers coaching staff made that comment in terms of, basically they said he's competing for his job as well. Guys, I don't believe it for a second. Now, here's the thing, though. The people that are getting upset about that, I don't understand people getting upset that Zack Tom has to compete for his position, right? Because that was the big issue with Josh Myers forever, man, was it's like they didn't bring any competition in at all.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't on one hand as Packer fans be upset when they don't bring in competition, and then as soon as they mention that Zack Tom's competing for the right tackle job, get upset about that as well. You know what I mean? So I think it was a way to just kind of look. They're in a negotiation. That's what's coming right around the bend here, right? They're going to be looking to negotiate that contract for Zack Tom, and they want to get him as cheap as they can, and Zack Tom's going to want to get as much money as he possibly can. So I think it's just kind of a starting point in terms of a negotiating factor. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You're telling me you go to buy something used, you don't kick the tires on it a couple times. I mean, you have to be willing to walk away. Obviously, in this scenario, that's not going to happen. But any good deal, we gotta try and get the number as best you can. There's always a little bit of haggling, and you always have a starting point. But I think that you do. We've also talked about it. The fact that when you bring in competition, it lights a flame under him, even if he doesn't need it. Just that little extra spark, that little extra motivation to get the best out of him, out of anyone is what we're kind of chasing after. Yeah.
Coach Lynn says, unless he's going to compete for left tackle, man, that would be a wild turn of events. And I will say this about Zack Tom. He's capable of playing all five positions on the offensive line. There's no two ways about that. What do you see as more important? Is it left tackle? Is it right tackle? I've always been taught left tackle is it's the top of the heap. That's the backside of the quarterback. If you got a righty quarterback, or the right tackle if you got a lefty like Tua, that should be your highest paid position on the offensive line. That being said, there are some offenses that I think, I don't want to say they put priority over the left tackle position, but they definitely have schemes drawn up to attack certain aspects of the defensive front, and maybe right tackle is considered a little more, at least equally valuable as left tackle. So,
and honestly, the fact that Zack Tom's not a monster dude, he's 6'4", I want to say. So he's probably on the shorter end. Jordan's like facing that way 90% of the time on his dropbacks. He's his body's faced up that way, so being able to look over him might just be something that he likes. And then you get the fridge Anthony Belton back there. You get Travis Glover out there on the edge. We'll be all right.
No, definitely. Greg in the chat said, does the chat always show on the main screen? I don't want this channel canceled from the chat being on screen. Listen, it is a feature now, and we will keep it up as long as we can. But if some knucklehead gets in here and says something stupid, we will have to drop it down. And yes, there is a risk there. So everybody help monitor it for me. All right, let's keep it in check. It doesn't mean you can't have fun in the chat, but just know you're being watched right now. Okay.
Right. If it gets into that scenario, I need to do the correct and adult decision, and we'll just go ahead and pop right there, and
like
we'll
that.
back to reality. So for right now, we'll say that we're on we're on good terms.
Yeah. Excelio also doubles as a hall monitor. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, and I'm gonna try to get a couple of drops in for Tim, man, because Jacob has just been absolutely terrible at that. Oh, I've been away.
there you go. There's the first shot. All right, with Zack Tom on the verge of a significant pay increase, let's take a look at his 2024 production. It's been widely reported that Tom struggled down the stretch last season. According to PFF, the loss to Philly is the only game he struggled in, finishing with a 56.0 offensive grade. So if you look at the grades from last year, Amelia, I don't know how well you can see it, but here were his grades week by week last year. And keep in mind, man, he tore a pec. He tore a pec in the offseason and still pulled back from that injury.
Honestly, I forgot about that. Now that you reminded
crazy,
me. Him,
right?
Matt LaFleur, Tuck, right? Everybody ripped that because new strength training. And dude, that's so true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so here are his PFF grades throughout the 2024 season, week by week. All right. 92.0 against that Philly front in week 1. Then a 57.6, 72.7, 89.0, 52.1, 88.1, 72.6, 62.3, 73.3, 73.6, 78.8, 66.7, 72.0, 83.2, 76.6, 71.3, 72.9, and then, of course, the wild card game of 56. Now, that brings, obviously, his offensive grade out to an average, or what PFF settled in at, an 85.8 was what he finished with. And Emilio, that was 6th highest amongst offensive tackles, according to PFF. So saying he had a down year and him grading out as an 85.8, sign me up, bro. Sign me up.
Coming off an injury, fresh off an injury, working to rehab that, and playing, against Philly, that defensive line coming in, it's not like it's an easy impact. You have to, stretch, reach, all those things. Impressive by Zack Tom, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we move along. He finished 15th amongst tackles with an 81 pass blocking grade. All right. So when you break that down,
and like Coach said, a year removed from an ACL surgery, a year prior on that left knee, I believe, right, for Tom.
Is that right? I don't even remember that. That's wild. Yeah. So if that is the case, and maybe it wasn't like a full tear, it might have just been some kind of some kind of
something. But still, man, anything on those knees, that does not feel good.
Yeah. And again, battling through that pec last year, I think it says a lot for sure. So Zack Tom finishes 15th in pass blocking grade with an 81.0. Now, keep in mind, guys, that's amongst all tackles. And you notice I didn't put any kind of minimum snap count threshold here. So you got a few guys like 821 snaps, 649 snaps, 512 snaps, 856, 719. Zack Tom had 1,134. And as we get a little deeper into some of the metrics here, you're going to see that I now adjusted the minimum snap count to like 80%, or I think it was 1,000 snaps to get kind of a true test of where he finished amongst guys that had a bunch of snaps. But nonetheless, man, finishing with an 81.0 pass blocking grade. You got to think, too, that's amongst left tackles and right tackles. So 64, the top 64, if you're in the top 64, then you are considered starting caliber offensive tackle, according to PFF. He finished 15th, which would suggest a true number one tackle on a football team, no doubt about it. So you're starting to see like everything's lining up like, okay, this guy deserves to be paid top tackle money for wherever the market's at the moment. It really does.
Right. And I like that it's not just left tackle, right tackle. You're going to put all that weight on left tackle blind side on it. But right now they are all just tackles, and he is in the top half of the top 32 tackles. Right. So that is elite from Zack Tom, and homegrown, picked him up late rounds. I mean, that's what Green Bay is as a draft and develop team. That's what we want to see.
And when you think of Zack Tom, you think of him being a great pass blocker. And I'm not saying he's not a good run blocker, but that's not the first thing I think of. I think of his footwork. I think of his hand placement, even though he's a little bit smaller stature, offensive lineman. It just seems like he's as technically sound as any tackle in the league, right? But the reality is last year, he finished third among tackles with an 87.8 run blocking grade, especially seeing that Green Bay's run blocking grades are always so bad, right, according to PFF. It's pretty wild that he finishes third with an 87.8 run blocking grade. Yeah, am I the only one that's like surprised by that, Emilio? Like to me, last year I remember him being good run blocking, but I don't remember him being that damn elite. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's probably not, not getting beat, being able to be on that side by yourself, not having to have Tuck over there all the time, being able to run split flow away from Zack Tom, all those things that gives you the opportunity when you have that kind of an elite player on the edge there.
Yeah, definitely. Now, another big key component to playing offensive line in the NFL is obviously controlling the penalties, and everybody looks at left tackle like that's the most important position, but also name a really, really, really good pass rusher in the NFL, Emilio. Who's the first person that comes to mind? An edge rusher. Name
Aiden
somebody.
Hutchinson right now. I mean, well, last year before.
Now, where's Aiden Hutchinson line up? Left in over the right tackle. Name another one.
Rashawn does the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Name another one.
Bosa.
You see what I'm saying?
Mack. Yeah, exactly. Because
Watt.
Yep. You want your best edge rusher on their quote unquote worse or lesser tackle, because most teams are putting their better tackle at left tackle to protect the blind side.
Bingo. So it's pretty cool that it's another point of where the right tackle is going to be increased in value a little bit. People are going to be valuing them a little bit more. I think Myles Garrett lines up off of the left tackle side, if I remember correctly. But I feel really comfortable saying at least 75, maybe 80% of the top edge rushers in the game rush over the right tackle off of the defensive side. So, yeah, pretty important. So, anyway, penalties, right? Controlling penalties. Among tackles with 1,000 snaps. So, I thought to get a true test here, let's pull out all the tackles who had 1,000+ snaps, right? And he ended up finishing 9th with only 7 penalties last year. So he finishes the year, and it's kind of hard to see here on this list. He finished with 1,134 offensive snaps, okay? And he only had 7 penalties last year, which was tied for 9th least in the league. Another thing, you just check the box. Because, I mean, you could look at the grades and go, man, this guy can run block, he can pass block. He's a little undisciplined, but still you're going to pay him top dollar. When you see that he's top 10 in least amount of penalties too, man. Like, how can you not pay this guy?
Yeah, because I was screaming about it. The penalties were the problem. Rasheed got like 3 in a game, I think, that first or second week. And I was just stressing because, I mean, that's just setting your offense back. So you have someone that's elite at pass and run blocking. You have somebody that isn't taking a lot of penalties and is keeping your quarterback upright and clean. I mean, that's an anchor on the wall. That's what we've talked about. We want to build that wall in front of Jordan Love. And I think Zack Tom, no matter where we put him, is that anchor. Right now, right tackle is killer. Let him be an all-pro. Let him be Pro Bowl. Let him just run it. If he wants to move, maybe, if that's something, hey, coach, it's not working for me out there. I'll do anything you want for the team. But maybe I really do want to play center. Maybe really do want to play left tackle. Then, all right, fine. Let's go. You can go and compete at that position. But why, it's not broke. We don't need to fix it up right now.
Yeah. Greg Rice says, was 24 an all-pro year for Tom? It was not. I think he finished 3rd. I think he was 3rd in right tackle all-pro voting, if I remember correctly. I've heard several people say that now, so I feel pretty confident that's where he finished. So just to answer that question on the fly here. Among tackles with 1,000 snaps, he finished 13th in the league with only 4 sacks allowed. All year long, over 1,134 snaps, he only allowed 4 sacks last year. And what's crazy is look who's tied for 10th on that list, Rasheed Walker. Rasheed Walker only allowed 3 sacks last year. So I don't know, man. I've kind of written it off that we're not going to pay Rasheed Walker, but
they could surprise us. They absolutely could. And just say, hey, no, we got a deal done. The problem is I think Rasheed coming in from, he was supposed to be a high draft pick, dropped all the way to the 7th round. You don't think he's going to want to go get his money? I mean,
right.
A left tackle that performs like that, I would say 75% of the NFL is taking him in a heartbeat. If they need somebody that can pass block and they're fine with their run block and we can bring a tight end, whatever, Rasheed's going to get his money, I think.
And most media members are talking as if they're not even going to offer him a contract. I think that's just crazy. Like, at least offer him a contract. He may take it. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I want to ask. And I know we're talking Tom, but since we're on the subject here, let's just steer in the opposite direction for a second. Rasheed Walker, what's the number you come up with that you go, I'd be willing to pay him that average annual value on a 3 to 4 year deal? What would that number be?
Man,
It's tough, right? Like,
yeah,
immediately I think 10 million. I'd be willing to pay him 10 million. That's chump change for a solid left tackle. He's probably going
seriously.
to laugh.
I was honestly thinking it'd be anywhere from 15 to 25 as like a number for him, and I would need to be on that low end. I mean, 10 to 15 would be. I wouldn't be mad at that if they pulled the trigger. But again, then if you brought in all this talent, Jordan Morgan, Belton, if you have all those guys planned out, hey, if they're going to be the guys, so be it. But I guess you could always look at it as, hey, we did draft Rasheed, we are developing him,
Right.
and then it's either all right, you turn a profit from that, you built up that car and then sold it for extra money, or all right, I'm going to keep it and enjoy this ride, and then maybe later on we'll move on from it.
Yeah, Chris the Casual In says 18 milli. I can't argue with that. I'm sitting back going, all right, you can't pay everybody though, right? So maybe it's something you go into the process and you go, okay, let's prioritize here, right? Zack Tom, top of the priority list for me. Let's get his deal done, right? And we'll talk about where his value is. Spoiler alert, it's about 21 million is what Spot Track's saying. Doesn't mean they're correct, but that's, though they show the evaluation. We hit on it before, we'll hit on it again. But like someone points out here in the chat, let me mark that one. I'll come back to it. Here we go. Greg Rice, is that a 53% run block grade? So yeah, I think he's talking about Rasheed Walker. That is correct. That's his weak spot, right? Is run blocking. There's no two ways about it. So you also went and drafted Anthony Belton, right? You've got Jordan Morgan, who played left tackle his whole career through high school and college, and then switched to right guard last year for the Packers. So you've got some options there as well. The signing of Aaron Banks would suggest you're wanting to go with a little bit more of a Mauler type offensive line, which would press into run blocking, right? So there's a lot of validity to what Greg Rice is asking there, in terms of, is that a 53% run block rate? So given that, what would the number be, Greg? You give us your number real quick, man.
And to the point of Rasheed, I mean, look at some of these pass blocking, run blocking numbers here. I mean, Andrew Wiley, number one, his pass blocking, 671 snaps to 442 on run blocking. Tristan Wirfs, 664 to 397. Penei Sewell, even 664 to 548. Lane Johnson, Philly's the only one opposite, which we're close to, but Lane Johnson was 616 run blocking, 574 pass. And you're looking at Zack Tom and Rasheed. Both of those are at 536 run blocking, 603 pass. Imagine Rasheed getting to a Tampa Bay or a Denver over here, or Houston ran 745 pass plays last year. Like, you're telling me they wouldn't want a tackle that is proficient in pass blocking, that's doing it 2/3 of the time?
Right. Exactly. Someone asked a question in here about second-year contracts. Here we go. Ron Samble, which starting left tackles make $10 million or less on the second contract? That's a great question. If I pull up Spot Track, I'm not going to put it on the screen, but I am going to just pull up tackles real quick. And I don't know who's on a second-year contract, but the cap hit. Let's go average annual value if I can here. Contract average, I think, is what we're looking for. Okay, so here are the left tackles. Tristan Wirfs, number one at 28.1. Penei Sewell, 28. Trent Williams, 27.5. Christian Darrisaw, 26. Lane Johnson, 25. Jeremy Tunzel, 25. Andrew Thomas, 23.5. Trey Smith, 23.4. Jake Matthews, 22.5. Jordan Mailata, 22. I mean, you got to get down to the 16th. Actually, lower than that, probably closer to the 16, 17, 18, 19, around the 20 spot that you say, okay, that dude is under $20 million average annual value. You know what I'm saying? So actually, that was offensive line in general too. If you go to tackle, it's right around the 15 mark is when you get under 20 million. So I'm trying to look like Brian O'Neill, maybe in Minnesota, 18.5, maybe that's around that number, which is what Chris N said. That'd be around the spot, So.
And I just feel like it's still going up. I feel like that number is not going to be 18.5 might be that bare minimum point. I think honestly Rasheed's asking for at least 20. If if you performed like that, I feel like you could probably get away with asking for 20.
Yeah, I can see that. Rock Cod earlier said right tackles all pro voting. Panay Sewell with Detroit got 119. I guess that was 35 first place votes, maybe.
Yep.
Lane Johnson finished with 76 and 15 first place votes. Then Zack Tom finished third with 3 votes. So there you go. And then Brian O'Neill right there, right behind him. So if you're saying Brian O'Neill isn't as good as Zack Tom, and we just seen Brian O'Neill's numbers at 18.5, that 21 we talked about is right on the money, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's right there in that.
And look at that right tackle. I mean, all pro voting, 3 of those are NFC North teams. You got the Detroit. So then you're looking at, all right, what are you building defensive wise to beat those 3 all pro players? Because you're in your division, you're playing them 6 times a year. So it's like that's something you really got to keep in mind while you're roster building.
Yeah, definitely. And then Rock Cod went on to say left guards all pro voting: Joe Tooney of Kansas City with 129, Quentin Nelson with 43, Landon Dickerson with 18, then Elton Jenkins just missing out there. He had 10 votes. So there you go. Big E. I'm excited about him moving to center. We just got to get that contract reworked. Yep. Got to get that done. So thank you for that information, Deadfish. We appreciate you, buddy.
Do you think you'd be happy we get all our O-line squared away? We know what's going to happen with Rasheed. We get Elton paid, and then we get Tom paid. I mean, that offensive line is set for 3 years. 3 years. I mean, with Jordan Morgan rolling in, and you can figure out what's going on with Sean Ryan, but you have a lot of depth. You have 2 solid guys that are getting paid that are going to be there forever, and we can kind of go with whatever we have in the future.
Yeah, to me, it comes down to precedent, right? You got to look at your current cap situation and precedent, and the Packers have only paid 2 at a time, I believe. You might get one year rollover with a third player or something, and then they're kind of gone, and then they reset. Like, I'm trying to think, when David Bakhtiari was getting paid darn good money, who else was getting paid? Elton, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So other than Elton, who else was getting paid? I can't think of anyone. Before that, before Bach kind of became the highest paid, I think back to the Chad Clifton days way back when, right? And then you had, Mark Tauscher was on the roster as well. You draft Bulaga and you draft David Bakhtiari. Well, you ended up paying Bulaga and letting, if I'm remembering correctly, they tried Bulaga at left tackle. He couldn't play guard. They tried him at left tackle. He didn't fit there. They put him at right tackle. David Bakhtiari stepped right in, and they were off and running. And then Bulaga took Mark Tauscher's spot, so both those contracts come off the books, and you're back to paying 2.
Yeah.
And if you remember, Josh Sitton came on the scene. Bulaga leaves, if I remember right. I think I'm remembering this correctly. Maybe Sitton came right before or was gone right before Bulaga left. But nonetheless, it just always feels like there's 2 to 3, but most of the time 2 that are getting paid really good money. So,
and I feel like that's how you got to do it. You always got to pay your quarterback. You got to have a couple staples on the offense. You're going to have to pay a skilled player at some point. You have to pay your DNs. There's not enough money to pay everybody, top $10.
Right. Up next, among tackles with 1,000 snaps, he finished 11th in pressures allowed. He allowed 28 pressures last year. So he's borderline top 10 with tackles over 1,000 snaps. So another perfect example. There you see Brian O'Neill right above him with, 1 less pressure. And, he's only 2 away from being in the top 5, though. So that is worth mentioning there, right? So 3 away from being in the top 5. So, again, sacks checks the box, pass blocking checks the box, run blocking checks the box. Talking about grades wise, penalties you check the box. You see what I'm saying here? Like, I was trying to find, okay, why would they be hesitant? There's truly nothing here, man. Among tackles with 1,000 snaps, he finished 7th in allowing only 2 quarterback hits. So there you got him almost climbing into the top 5.
The best guy around.
All right, so I went on to say Spot Track has Zack Tom's fair market value set at $21.7 million in average annual value. Given he finished averages out to a top 10 performing offensive tackle in important metrics, that seems to be very team-friendly deal and would provide a cornerstone for Jordan Love on the offensive line. So If I drop this down real quick, and we're going to continue this conversation for just a second longer, I want to pop over the Spot Track site real quick and show you guys what we're talking about with the tackle money. All right, so when you look at the average annual value of this tackle money, if we're saying he's truly top 10, let's start there, right? Dan Moore, 20.5. Jordan Mailata, 22. Jake Matthews, 22.5. So 21 does seem a little team friendly because the newer the deal, the higher it's going to be on this list. I'm not saying it's going to be top 3 or top 5, but it does. I wouldn't be surprised if it reaches the 25 million mark.
And again, the top 4 are 2 NFC North tackles getting paid top dollar. Yep. So it's like to keep up with our division, you have to have strong tackles. You got to have a strong D-line. I feel like that's kind of what – I feel like there's just a pattern coming around. You kind of see something that keeps appearing. We got to do something with our tackles. We got to make sure that we're solid on our end too.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, anything else you want to add to the offensive line / Zack Tom conversation there?
No, I think 20. If we can get him around 20, we'll be happy as long as we don't fly over 25. No 30 talk here. I love Zack Tom, but and then again, like we were talking earlier, you're kicking the tire a little bit. Hey, Zach, I mean, I can only get like 17.5, out of the bank account. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I don't know. Mark didn't leave us the keys when he left, and like we're trying to figure that out. So that's the kind of the battle. You don't want to get him upset, but let's get him paid so that everyone's head focused on football by the time we get there.
And honestly, Zack Tom comes across to me like he wouldn't get upset. He understands.
No, I don't think so.
When they did their locker clean out and Jason Wilde played an audio of them, kind of talking to him at the end of the season last year, one thing that stood out to me was he was like, yeah, I battled through an injury. And he waited till, like Tauscher pointed out, he waited till the end of the year, the season's over before he even mentioned it. He didn't use it as an excuse all year long. Still played damn good football. Mm-hmm. And then as a locker clean out, he was like, hey, I didn't play my best football this year.
And that's where you might get a brownie point with Goody and the stat. Hey, we love that you just put your head down and worked. You didn't complain. I knew you were hurt. You kept battling. Like maybe we'll give you, a couple bones because of that.
Right. And I think the other thing too, you can lower that average annual value if you guarantee more money. Now we know the Packers don't necessarily operate like that. They'll play kind of hardball. I hope they don't. If they piss him off, there's something wrong, because to me he seems like he's going to be the last person who's going to get easily ticked off that the organization is lowballing him, So if if they come in at 12 million, he's liable to say stuff it, and I don't blame him one bit. But yeah.
Yeah, Rock Cod over here asking, could they sign him to a 5-year, $100 million for now so he gets his money before this year starts? Give him 75, 70 guaranteed if you do something like that? I feel like you'd have to guarantee a lot of it if you're going to keep him on the edge of that 20. Would be my only worry.
I would think so too. The more guaranteed money you can offer, then the overall number is going to go down. Right now, if he's talking about getting his money this year before the year starts, the Packers typically, when they do a contract negotiation, the way it typically works is the first year that the contract kicks in, they like to pay the money up front, the guaranteed money up front. That way, let's say it's a 4-year deal. You guys always hear me say if it's a 4-year deal, it's really a 3-year deal. If it's a 3-year deal, it's really a 2-year deal, because they pay a ton of money up front, right, in signing bonus, get that out of the way. And then on the back side of the contract, you've got less dead cap, where if for some reason things go awry, you can move on from the contract a little bit easier. So in terms of that, Rock Cod, he's going to get a chunk of money as a signing bonus, no doubt about it. So
yeah, absolutely.
If that answers your question there, but and when you do that, typically the first year they may pull a little bit of cap into this year and absorb a little bit of hit, but the first year that the contract kicks in, it's not that bad. It's typically the second year that, with the way the Packers structure, you go, oh crap, that jumped up quick, like Aaron Banks is next year, right? But when you get to that point, if you are in a little bit of a salary cap situation, that's where you can go cash over cap, start converting base salary to signing bonus and tack on a couple voidable years, make it a little more palatable at the moment. And then by the time that contract is up, if you decide to move on, it's not like it just completely flipped the card upside down. It's saving, $3 to $5 million here and there. That really adds up. So, all right. So there you go. There's your offensive line talk. We had a question here from the great Jerry in our Patreon community. Very appreciate that. Uh, if you guys want to support the show, the best way to do so is to join our Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access, or scan the QR code in the upper right. $3 a month gets you access to everything on the site, including questions for the show. Works the same as a super chat here on YouTube, which we don't turn down super chats. You guys use those. We'll put them to the front of the line as well. But this is just a way to get your voice heard in a different direction. You got a bunch of different chats in there, all kinds of stuff, extra content, the whole 9 yards. We'll be doing giveaways too. We're going to be doing another giveaway next Saturday. It's going to be an autographed card. We got to go through. I'm going to get with the guys and see who we want to pick out here. If we want to do a JJ Enagbare? Do we want to do a Lucas Van Ness? Do we want to do a Javon Bullard?
Ooh.
All kinds of stuff. And I did get confirmation from our buddy Rick Kruger, who sent these over. Your all's package, Emilio, has the same thing that mine had in it. So y'all both, all three of y'all, get an autographed rookie Adrian Cooper card. But it's sick too. Just nice.
That'd be the first. I think that would be my first autograph card ever. I think I've had maybe a couple when I was a kid that were just like cards. I'd never really collected them, but that baby will get a spot on the wall for it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. All right, Jerry in the chat says, hearing your analysis on Packers receivers recently, including tight ends, I wonder which Super Bowl quarterbacks threw to so many pass targets that opponents never knew who to cover because there was no number one, ? I think it's a great question. And, if you go to the recent history here, right, I don't know if it holds as true here recently. Like you think of last year with the Philadelphia Eagles, what was their strength? For me personally, I thought their strength was the running game, right? And the RPR offense, that six-back offense that Jalen Hurts can run. Yep. Now, with that being said, you got A.J. Brown. There's your number one target, right? You've also got Dallas Goedert at tight end. You've also got the kid, I can never remember his name, is Devonta Smith.
Yep.
Former Alabama Crimson Tide, I believe, if I remember correctly. Did he win the Heisman? Am I thinking right, Amelia?
I'm pretty sure he did, yeah.
I think he won the Heisman.
I was watching a clip the other day. It was the 2019 Alabama LSU game. There were so many NFL first-round talents in that game. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, Nick Saban was crushing recruiting, man, no doubt. So to answer your question here recently, Jerry, yeah, I mean, we just named off 3 solid targets, right? But I don't want to mislead either and pretend like they were this big pass-heavy offense. They weren't. They were more lean on the run and play defense type of team. Now let's go back to the Kansas City Chiefs. Who were their top targets? Travis Kelce. I paused for dramatic effect. I think that was it, right? So that, and it was just every game, choice route. And it was just literally Pat Mahomes would drop back, make the first guy miss, and just give Travis time to find the soft spot, hit him, and that was it, right?
Yeah, but if we can have that meld with Tucker and Jordan, I mean, that's one key in your repertoire kind of thing. You have the receivers, you have everybody stretching the field, running their different routes, but having something like that underneath choices, I think that Matt would love to be able to add that to the offense.
Absolutely. But I do think that it's really, really important that you have an offense with, it's not just, hey, that's our number one receiver. Like think back to the Patriots dynasty, however, when you look at that, Gronk was the go-to guy for the most part, but also Julian Edelman. I mean, especially in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. I want to say he passed Jerry Rice in receiving statistics in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. He would always work. He wasn't afraid to work across the middle. I mean, Gronk would go up and get it. But I mean, Edelman coming across the middle was never afraid.
Yeah. So on that team, you got kind of 2 options, and they love to use the passing game with the running backs as well. So I'm just throwing out a handful of teams that's had a lot of success and won championships.
I mean, even thinking back to the old Packers, the 2010, who'd they have, Clay?
They had Jordy. Well, let's try to do it in order of which these players were targeted, because Jordy was young. People forget that.
That's right.
I feel like Greg Jennings was the number 1 target.
I would say.
I feel like James Jones was number 2. Then it was Jordy Nelson. They had Jermichael Finley, but he got hurt early that year, so he was on IR with the neck injury that ultimately ended his career. So you got 3 solids there. You had Driver kind of in reserve, but by the Super Bowl, he wasn't much of a factor, right? I mean, that's who comes to mind for me. What about you?
That I was going to say that would be it, because then you think, where did that team come from? I mean, that's That's all they really had. So that would be kind of no crazy number one, but still able to get through it. I think that it's cool that it was the Packers that did that, and they fought through injuries. They lost a couple key guys. Ryan Grant, right, was the running back there.
Actually, he got hurt on. Man, there was like a ton of people that went.
Or no, Starks came in
that was your boy from Buffalo.
Right?
Yeah,
baby.
And he stepped in and listen. He ran. He reminded me of Forrest Gump, his running style, straight up and down. But he got the damn job done.
Yeah.
It was him, and I want to say, I think Brandon Jackson might have been on that team. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, Ryan Grant got hurt early in the year too. I remember like by week 5 or 6, I was like, well, this sucks. The season's over. Like, there's just too many. I mean, you start losing 3 and 4 offensive starters. It's like, yeah, this ain't going to work. And next thing you know, Aaron just starts cutting people up.
Yep.
It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And that defense, number 1 defense in the league. People forget that. B.J. Raji, Clay Matthews, Charles Woodson. My God. Nick Collins. You kidding me, bro? Tremont Williams.
And I just saw the clip the other day of Al Harris. It was the Seattle overtime into the wild card.
We're going to score.
It was great.
Yeah. I screamed some obscenities at the TV as he was running down the sideline. I was, take that, you. I remember that like it was yesterday, man. Oh, good stuff. So, Jerry, we appreciate the question. I think we covered it pretty well. Emilio, you were hitting on some podcast stuff, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about here. And we'll just kind of bend everything in together. It doesn't have to match up perfect, but let's kind of end the show with what you were listening to. And again, Jerry, thank you so much for the question in the Patreon group. Again, you guys check out our Patreon community for sure.
Absolutely. So just listening to some of the pods there today, Ross Tucker on his draft pod with Emery Hunt, they were just kind of going over the NFC North. They talked about the Caleb Williams thing and his dad, and that was a big topic and all that. Mm-hmm. So after we got past learning about the Bears again, he got talking about Belton. Obviously they had gone over Matthew Golden a few times throughout the summer. We really liked him, explosive, all those things. Belton, Emery had as a number 12 tackle with a 78 grade. That's pretty high. I think nobody really gets a 90 there. So I think his grading scale goes up to like 85-ish, 90-ish. We didn't get his draft guide. It's all. Savion, he was like, oh, he could play tailback. He can run inside between the tackles with the ball in his hands and has the explosiveness to bounce outside. Outside the tackle box, he has the ability to play all 3 wide receiver spots as well. So he calls them like X flanker and all that. He kind of goes into the old school terminology a little bit more. But love to hear that. He was super excited about Colin Oliver, being that he had him as his number 2 Sam backer was Colin Oliver.
I see it, Amelia. When we get to that Chalk Talk episode, it's already queued up, ready to go too. And everybody's begging for the Baron Sorrell Chalk Talk. We're going to get to it, I promise. But the Colin Oliver one, I was like, it's going to be hard to keep this dude off the field. When you watch Tyron Hopper's college tape, you think, yeah, pretty good football player. You go watch Colin Oliver and you go, holy cow. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah, he said, you go back, watch that 2023 tape.
Oh, my God, bro. It's even better.
Yeah.
He's a blast to watch.
I can't wait to see him. I think that explosiveness, you might get a little bit less on the size front, but if you can make up for it in speed, power, and, determination, sign me up. He also said that he actually had John Williams, who we got in the 7th round. He was super excited about this one. He had him as his 14th tackle. So obviously you might be sitting there, okay, Belton was the 12th. We got him in the 2nd, but a bunch of tackles, 1 have already come off the board. And 2, John Williams, you got to look at John Williams more as a steal than as Belton as a loss, because the Packers saw something in Belton and all of that. I think that we got a snag from John Williams, that being it, we got him in the 7th round.
Yeah, I would love to know what kind of grades. Chris pointed out in the chat that Good had a 2nd-round grade on Hopper at the time. I'd love to know what kind of true grade they had on John Williams. If it was actually a 7th, it was probably closer to a 5th-round grade.
Yeah, and they were like, well, we can't turn down Colin Oliver because he's probably had a 3rd-round grade, and I don't understand why he's still sitting here. But we had to take Savion because Savion had a 2nd-round grade,
right,
and Anthony Belton had a 1st-round grade, so I can't believe he's sitting here in the 2nd round. Yeah. So I feel like that's where you get into the daisy chain effect.
And we can finally close the book on the Savion, which one is it? Matt LaFleur confirmed on the Chris Sims on Button podcast is Savion. It's definitely Savion. So Goody must have been in the liquor cabinet when he said Savion at the initial press.
A little bit of Woodford.
Well, speaking of Woodford, somebody actually mentioned that here in the chat. Mike Berry said 3 logs in the fireplace and in the hand. America, I'm just telling you right now, man. We're supposed to get in the 40s Thursday and Friday night. I'll be burning the fire. If I have to open the door, I'm burning the fire. Ain't nothing better than a cracking fire. I'm just telling you. I belong in Wisconsin, y'all. I'm telling you.
That means Clayton's bringing in the solo stove off the porch, and he's just going to have that thing heating up in the living room.
No, man. I love our fireplace, man. There ain't nothing better.
It is a nice one. It is. Sets the mood, man. That smell.
Oh, it's nothing like it, man. Makes me want Cracker Barrel biscuits, though. You know what I'm saying? Just the way it goes. So they got Cracker Barrels up north.
Yeah.
Everybody in the chat, let me know. They got Cracker Barrels up toward Green Bay. I need to know up toward Milwaukee. So I didn't know if it was a southern thing or not. I don't ever remember seeing one up there. It doesn't mean they're not up there.
That's where you go get the good candy. That's where Jacob shops for candy before, he goes out on his dates and stuff. That's the spot to be.
Clint says Campfire Cologne. There you go, man.
Okay.
There you go. That's what Jacob, there we go. Chris says, there's hell yeah, Cracker Barrels up north. All right, my bad, Chris, calm down. Just a dumb redneck from the South. I don't know what's going on here, all right? I'm just here so I don't get fined. So the Anthony Belton PFF grades, 21.74, then he jumps or falls to a 64, jump back up to a 65, then jumps to a 73. Just like we were talking about with the Aaron Banks signing, when you look at him at 6'6", 336 here with Anthony Belton, this screams they want to start modeling, man. I mean, there ain't no two ways about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we went through that whole spiel there, 7 RAS. He was flirting with an 8. Bench reps don't look that good for Anthony Belton, but again, he's got almost 34-inch arms. So it's, your bench reps are going to go down the longer your arms are, obviously. For the most part, there are some freaks out there. Yeah, decent explosion, though, with a good explosion grade, a 7.54 for the vertical, and he scored a 7.38 for that broad jump at 8.11. Shuttle looked good at 4.69, looking to get to the next level for sure. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's what his RAS looked like. Just kind of a quick little recap. I want to talk about the strengths real quick. This is what Dane Brugler said his strengths were. Blocks out the sun with his massive size, adequate lateral movement, and relies on long arms to help protect the corner. Rushers meet hard resistance when attempting to test his anchor. Plays as powerfully as you would expect to push defenders where he wants. Washes defenders on down blocks to create running room. Impressive foot speed on inside zone and blots out defenders on screens. Everything's run block. Little screen game there, but it's run block, right? Plays with the edge and switch stays flipped on field. Important to him to have most pancakes each game. So he's like all about
I love that.
Yeah. Actively searches for the next victim when uncovered. That's that duo look we ran the heck out of, right? Getting to that next level. And he started 32 games at left tackle in the ACC. So just a quick
man, that still low key screams. Bring him in and just let him road grade at a guard position.
Yeah, I completely agree. So again, if Rasheed Walker decides, hey, I want upwards of $20 million a year, maybe you let him walk, and this is the guy that replaces him. Maybe it's Jordan Morgan that replaces him, But I would love to see him, like, if I had complete say so. You guys know center is most important to me outside of tackle, right? Like I feel like it's something that this offensive
every play.
Yeah, I mean, think about the best Packer teams we've had in recent history. Yeah. 2010, Scott Wells, right? Scott Wells got cut from the team, battled back. I love hearing Tauscher tell that story. He was not going to be denied. Ended up being one of the better centers in the league.
Yep.
Anchor that. I want to say in 2014 when we ended up losing to Seattle in that game that obviously they should have won in the playoffs, but they had just a phenomenal year. I believe that was Corey Linsley at center, right? I feel like 2014 was one of the better teams. And then when you go back to who was at center when Aaron Rodgers was kicking butt in
Corey
2020?
Linsley?
No, 2020 and 2021. I'm trying to think when Josh Myers got drafted in 21. So, yeah, it was a year after they let Linsley No. It was somebody. Was it Lucas Patrick or somebody like that?
Yes, it was Lucas Patrick for like 2 years, right?
Right. So that kind of doesn't check out. It's that you don't consider him a great center, but I do think it's important. So now that you got Elton Jenkins playing center, as long as you get the contract buttoned up there, it's just so important. I want him to be one of those three that's getting paid. Zack Tom and Elton's already getting paid. Don't get me wrong, but they're going to sweeten the pot a little bit for him. I want Zack Tom to be paid. If you're going to pay a third, you're already paying him in Aaron Banks. It's like you can't pay for it. Yeah. You just can't, right? I mean,
that's where I think we kind of forget. Like we do, if we wanted to pay Rasheed and everything, Aaron Banks already got the bag. Not the bag, but Aaron Banks already got paid to be brought in here. Elton's going to get paid, and Tom's going to get paid. So you already kind of used up your three. We've been talking earlier about having 2 paid. We've already kind of maxed it at 3. I don't see 4 happening. I think that's why you're chasing those rookie contracts.
Mm-hmm. There's Ed Madden in the chat says Myers got hurt in 21 and Patrick came in. Got it. That makes sense. So that would have been his rookie year. So in 2020, when Aaron Rodgers won the MVP, who was the center? It would have had to have been, was it Corey in 20? Had to have been, right?
No, I could have swore it was Patrick, but it could have been because Corey Lindsey, he went over when
this is going to drive me crazy, man. I'm going to go Packers.
You might as well find out. While you're doing that, I'm going to dig in. So another Ross pod, his regular pod, it was interview he did during the Super Bowl with the top health guy, I think, for the NFL. One of the top health guys goes over concussions and all the different health things. Talked about field services. They talked about, kind of just getting a baseline for that. They talked about potentially, this was all before it happened, but moving up to the 35. They said that the kickoffs have come to like an impact on a play normally of like a normal offense defense play. So the high injury rates have gone down in there. But just a quick reminder, there's only 14 contact practices per season. So I mean, we want the team to be tough, physical. It's tough to pitch that into play unless you kind of whip them up for it. It's not like you can do it all the time. And he said even teams don't really even use all 14 of them there. So that's something we just got to keep in mind when we're trying to get these young guys ready and getting used to the pops of the NFL.
Yeah, and I just got confirmation here. I went to Pro Football Reference. It was Corey Linsley in 2020. That was the center, 29 years old, and they moved on the next year, right? So
Ed Madden also said his all-pro year. So you moved on from a center, had his best year, all-pro, send him to the Chargers, right?
Linsley, maybe he did.
Well, I thought they signed him. Maybe
I know Bulaga. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Corey Linsley went out there too. Here's what's crazy. All pro year, 29 years old, getting ready to turn 30. Guess who else is 29 years old?
Don't even say it.
It's Elton Jenkins. I'm just saying.
I knew it, dude. Oh,
the difference is Elton Jenkins has 2 years left on his contract, and Corey Linsley's was up. So that gives us a little bit of. Okay,
now looking at it, what do you think about Elton's choice to bring this to their attention now?
That's exactly why. He's going, I remember what happened to old Bub Corey when I was a young whippersnapper here in the league. Because when that happened, Elton Jenkins was 25 years old. He'd only been in the league for 1 year. He witnessed that happen firsthand. So
that'll burn a memory in your head. Your freshman year, your rookie year, whatever. I mean, sophomore year. Hey, that dude. Let me stick that in the back of the head. If I'm coming up on 30 and I need a contract and we're not squared away, I better figure that out now.
And I'll tell you something else that could happen here. I hope it don't play out this way, but it's definitely a possibility. I love that we were going to get away from offensive line. We came right back to it. We just ended here again. I could see this happening too. If Elton tries to play too hardball and he wants to hold out a training camp and this and that, and Goody just says, you know what? Okay, cool. Take your time. Come in when you're ready. And they get Jacob Monk some reps, and they try some other people out at center. And then Elton's not going to sit out and miss out on a check. What if they just let Elton come in and play that contract, and they go, okay, this will be your last year with us. And then they cut bait, free up $20 million next year or whatever it was, some crazy number, and just decide to move on. To me, that makes more sense than like if Elton if Elton plays his hand too much here, right? And Goody has to, all right, let's fall back to plan B. Plan B, maybe the money we were going to give him
Move
or was
on.
going to be due next year. Let's give it to Rasheed. Let's give it to Zack Tom. We move on
Wow.
from Elton. That could be the case.
Wow.
And who knows? Maybe Zack Tom kicks the center. And now you got Anthony Belton at tackle, Rasheed Walker at tackle, Jordan Morgan at right guard. That actually makes a lot of sense. Financially, I don't want it to happen. Please don't misunderstand me. But I could see that happening. I could, man. It all comes down to how hard a ball is Elton going to play. That's really what it comes down to. Because we know Goody won't bat a damn eye. Like Goody stared Aaron Rodgers right in the face. I believe he'll stare Elton Jenkins in the face.
Yeah.
Too,
well, because you think about plan A is all right. Let's pay Tom, Elton, and everybody. Plan B, that plan B, Clayton, that's something that Goody has obviously already thought about. Maybe not that exact scenario, but probably pretty close to it. I think that's a complete possibility. You brought in Banks, he's signed, right? So then, you pay your Zack Tom. Your other homegrown talent, if you look at it like that, is Rasheed. If Elton's still playing hardball, like somebody said it, I think it was DJ or whatever, but earlier, like no one's going to sit out an entire year, right? No one, or I think it was actually Greg Cosell. Greg Cosell said no one's ever going to actually hold out an entire year, so that's never actually going to happen. You look at it like who's going to break first. I mean, shoot, even if he hangs out for another week or two into the season, they could be looking to put him on the block and get him moved before week 8.
Yeah. Chris the Casual In said they could easily trade Elton. I mean, if it got that ugly, they could. You're right. They could. But, I mean, the reality is they don't have to do anything with Elton's contract.
It's the same way with Ja, right? Same way with Ja. They're on this team this year. They're playing this year.
Now, all of a sudden, those two contract situations seem very similar on how Goody's handling it, right? Look at you shaking. He's just sitting back going, all right, boys, have your fun.
Goody's like, that's why I got some extra. I mean, Caleb King's, he's the corner ready to go. We got Carrington Valentine. We got some young offensive linemen coming up.
Yeah. And again, I want Elton to be the center on this football team. I think it would be such a missed opportunity to not have him play center, especially with how young the offensive line is. I mean, he's the veteran now. He's the Wally veteran, right? He really is. So going to be interesting, though, no doubt. So never thought offensive line talk would be so captivating, but it's been really, really wild to kind of try to piece it together. And the reality is we're going to look up in 2 years and go, damn, didn't see that coming. It happens every time, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Man, and some of the points we made tonight, just getting a different perspective on it really got me thinking.
Yeah. And again, it's not to try to predict anything. It's not to try to create rumors. It's just these are the things. You said Goody's got a plan B. He's probably got a plan C and a plan D. Like, you have to. It's just like the draft process. People think it's just they just made the decision, well, it's drafts in Green Bay, we're going to take a receiver, get fans what they want. No, it didn't. They had 7 different scenarios laid out of how that first round could have felt, so.
That's why they had so many 30 visits in the first round, just so that they knew who they were going to – if they had an opportunity to get somebody, they probably visited with them to make sure they knew what they were getting in the first round.
God, I love pro football, man. It's so much fun to keep up with. It's just trying to not really to try to predict, but just try to truly understand. And you're never going to get to where, got it licked. It just never happens. As soon as you get to that point where you think, I think I got a pretty good grab on this, here comes the next swerve. So that's a blast. Anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up, man?
No, we got that other section, but I think that would get us into a time crunch. So we'll hit it. We can hit it tomorrow. We got time.
Cool. Sounds good, man. All right. Well, I want to give a shout out. Javen Tebow did come forward to get his Dontavion Wicks jersey. So we've got all of our May giveaways ready to be shipped out. I think next
Took it out.
we'll do one more giveaway next Saturday, probably do a card. But the way that works is like for the giveaways for the month of May, at the end of May, all of those get shipped out on the same day. That just makes it a little easier on me. If you guys want to make sure that you're entered into any giveaways moving forward, just make sure you're a member of at least the $3 tier there in Patreon. It's just another way for us to give back to those who are supporting the channel. It's the best way to support what we do here at PTA. We get asked all the time, hey, love what you guys do. Don't want you to go away. What can I do to kind of help keep this thing going? That's the best way to do it. Get you extra content, gives you an opportunity to win some really cool stuff and all that. I also want to give a shout out to another thing we've got going on right now. This is just more of a charity thing where I donated this jersey right here, an autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. And we are basically partnered up with Mac. And they are an awesome, awesome organization right here. It's My Autism Connection. It's going to go through the rest of May and through June, and then we're going to do the giveaway in July. So anyone who donates to that link right there, you can find it pinned on my Twitter page. It's givebutter.com/KRPSJ5. And my Twitter handle is @Packers_access. Just donate in there. We'll enter you into that giveaway. Just a way for us to add a little bit of just give a little back, make a little difference in this crazy world. As obviously over there at Mac, they're building hope, community, and independence for autistic adults. Got a lot of friends over there that are Packers fans. That it's a really awesome organization. Glad to be part of it.
And to that, Clay, you just want them to throw PTA in the dono, right? Just
thank you for mentioning
keep track of it.
Yeah, so when you sign up and you donate to that link, I believe that link's individual for us, but just to be safe, whatever name you put in there, just put PTA right after it. That way we know, okay, they're a part of our group. And as Bates says here, and that'll make sure that we get you entered into that contest. So it's going to be an awesome giveaway. Dorsey Levin's another player, man. If you guys are a younger fan base, like you're a younger fan, go and check out some of his highlights from the 90s, man.
I need to do that. That's on me.
Yeah, it was Dorsey Levens and Edgar Bennett. I want to say I'm trying to think of which one was bigger. I want to say Dorsey was the bigger back, but I could be wrong. He came in kind of as a fullback, and Mike Holmgren, what he loved to do was that split backfield, what they call that pro set. And they put them both back there. Man, Dorsey Levens made some fantastic good runs too, but made some great catches out of the backfield as well. There's one catch I remember specifically. I think it was the NFC Championship against the Carolina Panthers. I could be wrong there, where he goes up. I mean, just mosses someone, gets both feet in, drags both feet in the corner of the end zone. Hell of a player Dorsey Levens was.
Is that when they were still running a lot of split back?
Yeah, it was a pro set. Yeah,
I love
That's
it.
what I always knew it as a kid, was a pro set.
Yeah, pro set.
Yeah, and it was that was back
then. Shotgun is split backs. I'm sorry. Yeah, pro set. And then maybe a
now,
little Maryland eye, Clay.
Oh my God, here we go. This guy right here, little triple option out of the Maryland eye. Give me that power T.
Please. I miss the Full House Aaron Rodgers days.
I love Full House.
Dude, I love that. I think Matt needs to kind of bring that back a little bit. That would be a lot of fun. Little pistol. You get because we ran a lot of pistol this past year with Jordan. Let's run a little bit more. Just get Tucker over here. You pick what other back you want.
Mm-hmm. And Chuck Jagger says Dorsey Levens was bigger. That's what I was thinking. He was the fullback build of the two.
Yeah, he said Edgar was faster right after.
There you go. Yeah, Edgar Bennett was more of the T, right? Greg Rice says wing T from his days back in high school.
Heard it from a fan right here.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. We'll be back. Okay, let me think here. I don't want to mislead anybody. This week is hectic. I got two nephews graduating this week. So
nice.
I've got to make a graduation in Kentucky. I got to make one here in Tennessee. We got a graduation party. We're expecting like 40 people here at the house on Saturday. So I'll be hiding up here somewhere. Mandy will be screaming, where's he at? Trying to make me be a part of the festivities and be a member of the family. But anyway, so Friday night, we won't be doing a show Friday night because of a graduation. But Saturday, with everybody being here, I'm going to try to do an early Saturday show. That way we still get you guys some content. Okay. And then Sunday is my nephew's in Kentucky, so we'll probably do a morning show on Sunday as well. So I think the only day we'll miss is Friday. It's just if you guys would be patient with me, I definitely don't want to miss out on those moments for sure.
No, and I'd be upset with you. I'd probably get up there and have you start driving. You gotta see those, Cliff.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Appreciate everybody. We'll see y'all tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. Everybody have a wonderful evening. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack.
And we go.
Bye, guys.